Alright, market for factors. Okay, what are factors? Factors are basically referring to the factors of production. So like your capital, your labor, your resources. Okay, but for market for factors, we are only focusing on one type of resource, that is demand. Okay, so let's have an overview of the whole chapter. Alright, now, market for factor, okay, we'll be focusing on labor demand and labor supply. Let's talk about the labor demand first. Okay, the labor demand can be broken down into two, okay, which is made up of the firm's demand and the market demand. So what is the market demand? It's basically a summation of all the firm's demand for labor. Okay, but we're not going to be focusing on this. We're only going to be focusing on the firm's demand. So we'll be teaching you how to derive the demand just for one firm. Okay, how much labor does one firm demand for? Okay, and how are they willing to hire? Okay, now we talk about labor supply. Okay, we just need two graphs for this. Okay, I will need you to refresh on your chapter 2. Okay, I need to know your income effect and your substitution effect very well. Okay, and there will be another graph called the backward bending supply curve. Okay, so this is something new that you'll be learning today. Okay, so if you're not very sure on the IE and the SE, I suggest that you pause this video right now and go back to chapter 2 and have a quick refresher. Okay, let's begin with the demand for labor by the firm. Okay, I understand that this is a new kind of graph you're looking at, but don't be shocked or don't be surprised. Okay, now just let me go through the graph one by one. The y-axis is TP, which stands for total product. Okay, sounds similar to total cost, right? And the curve kind of looks familiar as well. Okay, and on the x-axis is L, or the amount of labor that we put into production. Okay, and this is called the total product curve. Now you realize that it's actually the inverse of the total cost curve. Okay, my total cost curve would look like this. Okay, and it would go up like that, right? But this is the other way around. Okay, so this is what the total product curve should look like. And if you realize that the upward sloping part, okay, this part of it, okay, is where there's increasing returns to scale. Because as you can see, as I put in more labor, I'm getting back more product. Okay, then that's where you have constant returns to scale, and this is where you got decreasing returns to scale. As you can see, I've been putting in a lot of labor, but the change in the total product is getting lower. Okay, so that's why it's decreasing returns to scale. So let's find out what the total product, let's find out what the marginal product is. Okay, so the marginal product of labor basically means this. Okay, sorry. Okay, the marginal product of labor, it is the amount of goods produced resulting from adding one more unit of labor. So it's like marginal cost. Okay, the marginal cost, remember what is it? It is the additional cost that is incurred by making one more good X, right? So this is the other way around. It is the amount of goods that can be produced, reducing from adding one more worker or one more labor. Okay, that's just a bit of basics. Okay, real wages and how firms hire. Okay, now the small letter W is going to stand for real wage, and the big letter W is going to stand for nominal wage. Do you remember nominal income and nominal and real income? So this is quite the same. Okay, so the small letter W is going to be big letter W over small letter P. Okay, then P is generally the price level. So this is my real wage. Okay, that means it's measured in terms of my purchasing power. Okay, so where will firms hire? Okay, firms will hire at real wage equals to marginal product of labor. Why? Do you remember MR equals to MC? Okay, and that is where cost is minimized. Okay, at wage, real wage equals to marginal product of labor. Okay, that is where cost is minimized. So what it means is that the firm would hire anywhere along the marginal product of labor. Okay. Alright, so now I have a question. Is the firm going to hire on the upward sloping part or the downward sloping part? Okay, so now let's do a little experiment. If we're going to hire the upward sloping part, okay, which is over here, point A. Okay, so what is going to be the cost of the firm? It's basically going to be this area over here, this box. Okay, that is the total cost. Okay, the total wages that the firm has to pay. Alright, and what is the amount of benefit that the firm is going to get? Okay, the firm is going to get the area that is under the marginal product of labor curve, which is here, this box. So what we have is we actually have an area of loss over here. Okay, I wouldn't really call it area of loss, but this is where we pay more, okay, for the amount of benefit that we have. So this area here is somewhat of a loss. Okay, but if you're gonna talk about producing over here at point B, okay, there's gonna be a gain, because you see the total cost. Okay, the area is this whole part over here, right? Okay, but the benefit is the area under the marginal product of labor, which is here. So this part here, okay, is the additional benefit. So I mean, we will want to produce where benefit is more than cost, right? So that's why we only produce on the downward sloping part of the marginal product of labor curve here. So that's our demand for labor. Okay, so it's that easy. Okay, basically your remember your supply curve is the sum of MC curves, right? So now your demand curve for labor is just your marginal product of labor curve. Okay, so now, do you realize that we were talking about the demand in the short run? Why? Because in the short run, labor can be variable, and what is fixed? Capital. That's right. Okay, so that's why in the short run, okay, labor is variable, okay, and capital is fixed. Alright, so what about in the long run? How? Okay, both L and K are variable. That's right. Okay, so what are the implications? Okay, now look at this. Okay, we'll go through this one by one. Okay, do not be alarmed. Okay, we'll take it slow. Alright. When capital increase, the marginal product of labor will increase as well. Why? Because more machines means higher productivity. Okay, and we will assume that real wages has fallen. Okay, so let's start at point A. Okay, where the wages, okay, is at W0. Okay, so now real wage has fallen from W0 to W1. So we will move from point A down to point B. Alright, move from point A down to point B. Okay, and now there is an increase in capital. So what's going to happen is that because it's an exogenous change, okay, the marginal product of labor curve is going to move outwards to here. Okay, and at the same amount of wages, okay, the same level of wages, which is W1, we will move to point C now. So this is the new marginal product of labor curve. This is point C. Okay, then what we're going to do next is we're going to join A and C together, and we will draw a line through it. This is the change in labor, and this is our demand for labor in the long run. Okay, so now you encounter questions like, so which the demand for labor in the long run is more elastic than the labor in the short run, than the demand for labor in the short run. Is it true? Look, this is steeper, this is flatter than this. Okay, so yeah, that's something that you can talk about elasticity. We know that a flatter demand curve would mean that it is more elastic. That's right. Okay. Now, we are already done with the demand for labor. So now let's move on to the supply of labor. Okay, now remember chapter 2? Okay, this is a graph from chapter 2 over here. Alright, you can see this is quantity of Y, this is quantity of X. Okay, and this is my budget constraint, and this is my indifference curve. Okay, I got real income over here, and I got the initial bundle equilibrium at A. Okay, now this is the graph that you're gonna need to draw for the supply of labor. Okay, now except that it's gonna be a bit different. On the x-axis, it's gonna be amount of leisure time, how much we play. Okay, and on the y-axis is gonna be X. Okay, I know it's weird to put X on the y-axis, but that's just it. Okay, X stands for all other goods. Okay, it stands for goods that you're comparing to labor. Okay, so basically it's just everything else that we consume. Okay, and same thing, we have our budget constraint, and we will have our indifference curve. Alright, okay, I tell you what, let's take a look at it in detail. Okay, I got a bigger graph over here for you. Alright, okay, let me cover some things up for you first. Alright, okay, now, like as I was saying, X is all other goods, Y is the hours of leisure. Okay, this is your budget constraint, and remember this angle over here is going to be the real wage. Okay, and Y is what? Okay, remember in chapter 2 we put price of X divided by price of Y. Okay, so the price of labor, okay, is going to be W, and the price of Y is going to be PX. So if you take capital W divided by PX, you're going to get real wage. So that's why you just put real wage there. This is my indifference curve, utility curve, right? A is my initial equilibrium. Okay, so this is my real income in terms of X, alright, and this is my initial bundle for X, and this is my initial hours of leisure. Okay, now, important part. This is the most important part. Okay, L bar. What is L bar? L bar is the total number of hours that I'm awake. So basically, it means that because we got 24 hours a day, right? You can't possibly be working like 26 hours or 27 hours, right? You need to sleep for 8 hours or something like that, right? So, assuming that I sleep for only 8 hours, okay, this part over here is going to be 16 hours, right? So, all these 16 hours, I cannot be working the whole damn day, right? I'll be having fun and I'll be working. Okay, so that's why it's been divided into two. So, L bar is basically the amount of hours that I spend a week, okay? And this 0 all the way to LE naught. LE naught is the hours of leisure that we are having. Okay, it makes sense, right? Because the x-axis is the leisure hours. So if I move from here to here, it's definitely I'm increasing my amount of leisure. So that's why from 0 to LE naught is leisure. So if I've chosen LE naught to be my hours of leisure, what do I do the rest of the day? I work. Okay, so from LE naught to L bar, that's the hours of labor. So this is the most important part here. Okay, the rest is just chapter 2 basics. Okay, moving on. Okay, get ready for some substitution and income effect. Okay, now let me tell you what the purpose of this for. Okay, the purpose of this is to identify the individual's behavior when he is faced with an increase in wages. Okay, now if I were to tell you that you were to if I'm going to increase your pay now, let's say you have a part-time job that pays you maybe $5 an hour. Okay, so you will work for a certain number of hours in a week. But now if I were to tell you that, hey, I'm going to increase our pay from $5 to $7, will you want to work more? Of course, right? It's more attractive, right? But imagine, with a higher rate, and if I work more, I can get more money. Is that true? Oh, I mean, it's definitely true for me now. If you give me a higher pay, I'll definitely work more. Okay, but it's not true all the time. Okay, so bear that in mind. Now we are going to go to the graph, and I'm going to show you, okay, exactly how we are going to analyze such a behavior. Okay, so we'll assume that wages has increased. So when wages has increased, basically means this angle has increased. So what I do? Okay, remember in chapter 2, when there's an increase in real income, what do? You shift the entire budget constraint out, right? But I can't do that, right? Because I'm only awake for L bar number of hours. So what, you mean just because my pay increased, I sleep less, man? No, what? So what is going to happen is that I'm going to rotate around L bar. Okay, I'm going to rotate around L bar, okay, to signify an increase in wages. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a new budget constraint. Okay, I got not enough space here, so I'm not going to extend it up. Okay, so this angle now is going to be W1. Yeah, I paused for a while because there was an aeroplane flying past. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to find my substitution effect, right? So do you remember what to do? Come, tell me, what should I do now? Okay, that's right. You draw a parallel line, an imaginary budget line, okay, tangent to the indifference curve. Okay, so over here we have got point C. Now, what's the next step? I need to find my income effect. That's right. Before I find my income effect, okay, what do I have to identify? Okay, I have to identify this. Okay, drawing a vertical line, okay, that cuts through point C. Okay, so I know that this is my substitution effect, right? So from here to here is my substitution effect. Okay, we're using Higgsian only, there's no Slutsky involved. So if I go in this direction, X is a normal good. That's good. Okay, how I know? Because the imaginary budget line is below the new budget line. So when this is below this, that means my real income has increased. When my real income has increased and I take more of X, hey, sorry man, it's L. L is leisure. Too used to using X. If I take more L, it means what? It's a normal good. So if I go the other way around, it is a normal good, obviously. Okay, now the next step is to find out my income effect. Right? So I know that similar to chapter 2, I know that the individual can land either here. Okay, this is the point B where it is an inferior good. Okay, and I can lie here where it is a normal good. But I can also lie here if it's a normal good as well. It's a given good over here. Okay, so do you realize that if I'm going to bring up my point C, there's something very special about these 3 points. Look, if I move to point B, BN, this BN over here, okay, do I work more? Yes, I work more. Why? Because if I'm going to extend this line down all the way here, and I'm going to be at LE1, can you see that my leisure hours has been cut down? Okay, originally it was here, now it is here. So my leisure hours has been cut down. So my leisure hours have been cut down means I'm working more. That's right. And that's the same for BI. You see, I'm going to bring this down. Here, I'm going to be at LE2. Okay, my leisure hours has been cut down from here to here. But now, look at BG. Okay, where leisure is a given good. Look at this thing. If I bring it down over here, do you realize that my leisure hours are increasing? It's amazing, right? You see, it's increasing. So what does it mean? It means that when my substitution effect is smaller than my income effect, it means that I am working less. Right, you see, this is my substitution effect. Okay, let me use another color so that you can see. Let me using blue. Okay, my substitution effect, okay, from here, I move to here. And then I'm going to reverse because I'm going towards BG, and I'm going to pass the point A, so which means that it is already going to be bigger than my substitution effect, right? So I'm going to move all the way to here, and this is my income effect, and therefore my income effect is larger than my substitution effect. So it's impossible, right? I mean, I increase my wages, but I'm working less. How is this the case? Okay, this is a... I mean, if I'm going to explain it using just economic terms, I'm just going to tell you, oh, it's because my income effect is bigger than my substitution effect, lor. So that's why I choose to work less. But doesn't make sense, right? You know, not everything have to use so abstract things to explain one. Alright, now let me use a very layman example. Okay, imagine this is you. That's you, okay? And you did some calculation. You calculate, okay, you are very detailed, you are a very forward planning person. So after calculating, okay, you realize that you need $2 million to live happily ever after. So you decided what kind of house you want, you decided what kind of car you want, okay, you decided how many kids you want, how many wives you want, or how many husbands you want, okay, and you decided, okay, I need $2 million, okay, to live this life that I want to live. Okay, now I'm gonna come over to you, alright. So I'm a business owner. Okay, I'm gonna tell you, okay, listen, I'm gonna pay you $500,000 for 1 hour. Wow, damn good deal, right? Okay, so if I pay you $500,000 per hour, right? How long would you want to work? Okay, I hope you said 4 hours. Right, because 4 times $500,000 equals to 2 million. Okay, so you think, then I tell you what, okay, I'm gonna give you another offer. I'm gonna offer you $1 million per hour now. Wow, it's a damn good deal, man. $1 million per hour. You give me, I sure do one. Okay, $1 million per hour. How long would you work for? You will work for 2 hours. Do you realize that with a higher wage, you are actually working less? Right. Okay, and that is because, right, the income effect is larger than the substitution effect. Right. So to conclude, in order for me to work less, in order for me to work less, okay, leisure to me has to be a normal good, and the income effect has to be larger than my substitution effect, or it is a given good lah. It is a very normal good. Okay, so that is why we actually work less. Okay, so how do you derive the labor supply? You know, we talk so much. How the hell do you derive a labor supply, man? Okay, now look at this over here. Okay, so I'm gonna start here. Alright, now look at my pencil. Okay, I'm gonna start with this budget line over here with an initial wage of W0. Okay, so my individual is at A. Okay, assuming my individual is at A. And I'm going to increase the wages up to the pink line over here, which is W1. So that is his newer wage, alright? Okay, and he'll be at point B. So is this working less? No, it's working more. Because you see his leisure time has been cut down. So he's working more. Then I'm going to increase his wages again, okay, to the brown line over here, which is W2. And it's going to be at point C. Hey, how come? He's working less now. Okay, because, yeah, that's what we just went through just now, because to him, leisure is a normal good, and the income effect is larger than the substitution effect. Okay, so that's why he's at point C. So you realize that he is working this much, working even more, and working less. So he's going in this curve over here, follow my pencil, okay? So if I'm gonna illustrate this on another graph over here, okay, it's gonna be working less, working more, working less. Working this much, working more, working less. Okay, as the wage increases. So this is how to derive the labor supply curve. It is backward bending. So if you want to put in your demand, just put it anywhere. Okay, so this is the equilibrium wage. Okay, so wherever it intersects, okay, that is where the equilibrium wage is, and that is where the equilibrium hours is, the quantity of labor that is being supplied. Okay, see, easy. Okay, so this chapter is fairly easy. Alright, and the last thing that I need to take note of, right, okay, is that you remember this graph over here, this one, here. Do you remember in chapter 2, we went through so much trouble when the examiner says, okay, after this quantity of X, then there will be a discount. Or to encourage people to use up to X bar of this particular shampoo, okay, we will charge at a lower rate, or we will give one free, or something like that. Okay, so there were a lot of questions that made us manipulate the budget constraint. Okay, so similar to that, okay, sad to say, you will have to manipulate your budget constraint in this chapter as well. Okay, so I'm just going to give you four pointers, okay, 4 possibilities that can happen. Okay, we look at the first one first. Increase and decrease in wages. Okay, this one we went through already. Okay, there will be a, oh no, okay, increase and decrease in wages, there will be a pivot of the budget line along L bar, right, remember? So it's like that, okay, so if let's say this is L bar, my wages increase, I'm going to go like that, right? Okay, if my wages decrease, I'm going to go like this. Alright, okay, next thing, increase and decrease in time. What time? Okay, i.e. traveling time. Okay, the budget line shifts right or left. Okay, now, you see, if let's say, okay, initially this is L bar. Okay, if let's say now that this guy has to spend time traveling to work, alright, so what's going to happen? He's going to have less time for work, right? So this thing is going to shift in. Okay, so this is still L bar. He wakes up here, right? But he's going to spend this amount of time traveling. Okay, and what if he decides to wake up earlier? Then the thing shifts out. Right, okay. Next thing, traveling costs. Okay, the budget line will shift up and down. Okay, shift up. Okay, let's say for example, he has to pay for traveling. Okay, pay for traveling. Okay, so what's going to happen is that, okay, he's going to shift down because he has to pay, right? So he will start here. This much, okay, is being paid for traveling. Alright, last one, OT pay. Alright, OT pay, you will have a king budget line. So for example, if let's say the question mentions that after maybe LX, okay, after LX, okay, there will be overtime pay. So basically what happens is that from here he gets paid more, right? So it goes up. And the notation here is going to be W0 plus OT pay. Okay, whatever algebra figure you want to use for your OT pay. Okay, so that is the label of supply. Okay, and we just completed chapter 5. Okay, the market for factors.